Drop the backup quarterback, drop the backup tight end. Here are players that actually have real upside for the bottom end of your roster that if you've already done your draft, you should go to the waiver wire and look for them. If you haven't done your draft, I'd probably take them when everybody else is taking their kicker and defense. Now, I was not expecting in the 2024 season, especially this early, to come out and tell you to pick up Jordan Mason. To be honest with you, Jordan Mason is a running back that I don't think is that talented. He's not that fast. He ran a 4.63 40-yard dash. He didn't really catch the ball at Georgia Tech either. He had a 4.7% target share, and he hasn't caught the ball at the NFL level. He's only had 3 receptions through his first 2 NFL seasons. Now, with all that being said, the positive is he weighs 223 pounds, so he has the size where all of a sudden, if you were to see a McCaffrey injury, he could step into a 3-down workload. Now, of course, can he catch the ball? I don't know. That is to be determined. But I wasn't really excited about him until Elijah Mitchell hit the IR. But once Elijah Mitchell went to the season-ending IR, not just the PUP, this really clears the depth chart for Jordan Mason, where this coaching staff, both in training camp as well as the preseason, really indicated that if anything were to occur to McCaffrey, Jordan Mason is their guy. Now, keep in mind, this is an elite offense. Right now, sportsbooks are projecting out the Niners to score the most points in the NFL this season. Now, McCaffrey were to go down, the Niners probably don't score the most points in the NFL, but they should still be a very good team. I want to remind you, while yes, Christian McCaffrey is the best running back in the NFL, he's going to have everything as a receiver. He's going to have everything in the red zone, and there's no way that you could realistically start Jordan Mason even in the deepest of leagues with a healthy Christian McCaffrey. What you do also have with McCaffrey is a running back coming off 400 touches. That's 28 years old. That's already dealing with the calf strain. So if you were to see a Christian McCaffrey injury, Jordan Mason is now the clear backup in one of the best offenses in the NFL, and that is worth a roster spot. Now, going over to our next running back, I don't know if we already said this, the majority of these guys will be RBs because that's where upside comes from later on. But nonetheless, Marshon Lloyd has also had this depth chart clear up for him. Just a month ago, we were sitting here going, well, if Jacobs goes down, I don't know if it's Marshon Lloyd. I don't know if it's A.J. Dillon. Then 2 weeks ago, we get indications, Marshon Lloyd's still hurt. Marshon Lloyd may start in the PUP. A.J. Dillon's the clear running back too. And then a couple days ago, no, A.J. Dillon goes to the PUP, is going to miss 4 games. Marshon Lloyd is good to go. So, I mean, it has been a wild roller coaster over the past month in this Green Bay backfield. And Marshon Lloyd's very similar to Jordan Mason in that if Josh Jacobs stays healthy, he's never hitting your starting lineup, right? However, now that A.J. Dillon is on the PUP and is going to miss at least 4 games, this gives Marshon Lloyd the opportunity to cement himself as the running back 2 on this depth chart. If anything were to happen to Josh Jacobs early in the season, Marshon Lloyd steps into a 3-down running back role where we've seen Marshon Lloyd actually demonstrate the ability to catch the football, and this Green Bay Packers offense should be one of the better offenses in the league. So I think Marshon Lloyd, right now, according to Yahoo, he's only rostered in 15% of leagues. I have no idea how that's possible. I have no idea how they're getting that number. I think he should be rostered in every single one. And I'm sure if you're playing in a league where all your buddies know what they're doing, they probably already picked him up, but it's worth a shot seeing if he's there. Now, the next piece of news that will clear up some confusion at running back is going to be in Denver, where Samaje Perine's released. The Samaje's gone over to Kansas City. That's a whole nother mess we can talk about in another video. But specifically with this Denver backfield, at one point, it was looking confusing where we didn't know who was making the team between Javonte, Perine, Estime, Jaleel. I mean, if you go back a month, Sean Payton said, Javonte and Samaje Perine are fighting for a roster spot, which was freaking crazy because it seems like Javonte should be the running back 1 here. I'm ranking him as if he is. But now that you have no Samaje Perine, Jaleel McLaughlin is for sure going to be the primary pickup. Now, of course, if you play in a deeper league, if you play in honestly just a regular league, he should already be rostered, right? This is going to be a running back that we saw in the preseason. We'll have that receiving role alongside Javonte Williams already. So for your deeper formats, instead of looking at Jaleel, if you really needed a running back off of waivers, I think Audric Estime is worth taking a shot on just because this is an uncertain backfield. While I'm personally projecting Javonte Williams to be the first and second down player, Jaleel to be that third down option, It's not like this is set in stone. It's a fluid situation where you could pick up Estime, hold him for 2 weeks. And if you like the role that he has, if it seems like he is taking a decent amount of snaps, a decent amount of touches in this backfield, then you can hold on to him. And if not, you can send him right back to the waiver wire. But I do think Estime is one of the best round 18 picks now in underdog drafts, where y'all know, I mean, in round 18 underdog drafts last year, Kyron Williams was selected and won someone $3 million. Puka Nacua was selected and won people millions of dollars. So it is really important to try to figure out your round 18 picks on Underdog. But of course, if you don't know what Underdog is, it's a place where you can draft an extra fantasy football team this year. They're best ball drafts, so there's no time commitment at all during the year. So I draft hundreds of teams every year. So I won $150,000 on Underdog 2 years ago. And if you use code FLOCK, you're going to get my 2024 rankings, draft guide, and consensus ADP cheat sheet. Plus, you're going to get a Christian McCaffrey special pick'em, more than less than half a total yard, a Travis Kelce special pick'em, more than less than half a total yard as well, both for week 1, and a 50% deposit match up to $1,000, all with code FLOCK with the link in the description and comment section. But moving over to our next player, we'll get back to the running backs in a second. I know you're probably bored hearing about them, so let's switch over to some wide receivers. I don't know how Yahoo is getting this number, but supposedly Darnell Mooney is only rostered in 16% of leagues at the moment. Darnell Mooney should be rostered in every single format. Rondale Moore was ruled out, for the entire season like a month ago at this point. Darnell Mooney is the solidified wide receiver 2 here for Kirk Cousins in this offense. And while everybody and their mom, including myself, is expecting that Drake London is an alpha wide receiver here, and Drake London is by far and away the best wide receiver on this Falcons team, it is worth pointing out that Darnell Mooney has a better season under his resume than Drake London has ever had in his NFL career. What's another thing worth pointing out here is if you were looking at this Darnell Mooney contract, he got paid. This isn't a Hollywood Brown contract where Kansas City gives him just absolutely peanuts to just go over there for a year. No, the Falcons paid Darnell Mooney to be an every down player for them. While we expect London's good, while we expect Pitts is good, it's not like these are players that we've seen just absolutely dominate the position in the past, such as Puka Nacua, such as AJ Brown. They are primarily just projections at this point. So I think Mooney is somebody that you could take, and if you are struggling with wide receiver depth, especially in a league that's a full PPR format with multiple flexes, you could for sure look to utilize them. Now, our next wide receiver, we'll go 2 guys back to back because they're super deep cut guys. And they're players that I'm drafting right now in round 18 of underdog drafts. If you're in just a regular league with 6 bench spots, for the love of God, do not take them. But Roman Wilson and Luke McCaffrey, I think, are interesting players at the minimum to keep on your watch list. In the case of Roman Wilson, it looks like Ayuk's not going to be going over to Pittsburgh. While Roman Wilson has dealt with an ankle injury through the entire preseason, through the majority of training camp, and that has really sidelined him where we haven't gotten to see Roman Wilson at all. And the hype has completely died down after he got respectable draft capital in an offense that really needs help at wide receiver with the departure of Deontay Johnson. So I've been taking a ton of Roman Wilson in round 18 of underdog drafts. Like I said, in your regular redraft league, probably not worth the roster spot. And Luke McCaffrey is going to be interesting here, where you do have the departure of Jahan Dotson, just opening up this wide receiver room. Now they add in Noah Brown, they have Diami Brown, they have Luke McCaffrey. Reports with Luke McCaffrey aren't exactly super positive at the moment, but he is a rookie that possibly has some upside in an open depth chart. So I wouldn't mind throwing him on your watch list. And if we see any action at the beginning of the year, then you can go ahead and you can pick him up. Now let's move back over to some more running backs. Now this player we used to be able to get in round 18 of underdog drafts. Now he is steamed up. People are realizing that he is a phenomenal pick. I actually took him in the last round of my main redraft league this year, the Flock League, and there were a bunch of quote unquote experts in that draft. So trust me, I think we were drafting with people who knew what they were doing. Tank Bigsby. If you are looking at Tank Bigsby, this coaching staff has already said that he may have a role with a healthy Travis Etienne. Tank Bigsby may actually be utilized in short yardage areas. I mean, he is a bigger bodied running back. I know he's maybe not necessarily the top athlete, but nonetheless, he may have a role in games where Etienne is healthy. And if Etienne were to go down, all of a sudden Tank Bigsby steps in to immediately be the guy in this offense. There's really nobody else behind Tank that's even worth considering here in Jacksonville. The man weighs 210 pounds. He actually caught the ball at Auburn, which was very interesting. And I want to go back 2 years ago. If you remember Tank Bigsby at Auburn, people were hyping him up to be the next great running back. So I think he is one of these premium handcuff backs that you're not having to worry about another RB2 there potentially taking the role. And you'll notice about all of these running backs that I'm bringing up in this video, what's most important is we know if the starter were to go down, they are the guy. I wasn't interested in Marshon Lloyd previously because if Jacobs were to go down, then maybe it was Lloyd, maybe it was Dillon, maybe it was a committee. I wasn't interested in Jordan Mason previously because if McCaffrey were to go down, maybe it was Elijah Mitchell, maybe it was Jordan Mason, maybe it was a committee. I wasn't interested in Jaleel previously because if you were to have an injury to Javonte, maybe it's P. Ryan, maybe it's Jaleel, maybe it's Estime. Once these running back depth charts start to thin out, this is when you attack them. This is when you pick up those backup options and you cycle them through the waiver wire trying to find that next starter. And I think Bigsby is a great example of that. If you were to have an injury to Travis Etienne, there's no other running back here that I think you would have to be concerned with. I mean, the only other guys on this team are like Dearness Johnson. Now, going over to our next running back, this is somebody that I would advise you to pick up for week 1, see what happens, and if you don't like it, cut it immediately. Kimani Vidal is somebody that when depth charts came out, he was listed at the very end. It looked like he may not have even made the team, and all of a sudden it was very difficult to even consider drafting him. But since then, what you've actually had is it looks like he is going to make the roster. Isaiah Spiller was let go. And all of a sudden, you have Vidal going up against 2 injured running backs in Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins in an uncertain depth chart where neither running back ahead of him is a prototypical pass-catching option. So I think Vidal's the perfect example. Throw at the bottom end of your team. If you were to see an injury, or maybe he just has a role right away, you can go ahead, you can keep him on your team. But if we were to get to week 1 and it's all Gus Edwards and it's all J.K. Dobbins, you send him right back to the waiver wire and you look for your next high upside running back. Now, I am going to do this every single week. So, of course, if you play fantasy football and you want waiver wire options every week, I'd highly recommend subscribing to this channel if you, for whatever reason, I'm not already. But 3 quick defenses that are very solid streaming options. And if you are in your fantasy football draft, I would look to take them in the last round because I think you could play them week 1 and then maybe you can send them right back to the waiver wire. But the Cincinnati Bengals are playing the New England Patriots. Right now, the New England Patriots have the lowest implied team total of any team in the NFL for week 1. The Cincy defense should go nuts. The Saints defense going up against Carolina. That's a very appealing matchup. And the Seattle defense going up against Denver. Those would be 3 separate defenses that I would look to pick up at the very end of your draft or maybe stream this week if you need one, but not necessarily am I saying that you need to pick them up and play them through the entire season. And that's a big thing that you need to be looking at with the waiver wire here is we are planning on cycling these guys through. You pick up Jordan Mason right now. We get to week 3. McCaffrey's fully healthy, but another running back goes down. You immediately send Jordan Mason to the waiver wire and you go pick up that running back stepping into opportunity. Here, when we're rostering all these running backs that are an opportunity away, we are just trying to beat our league mates to claim them off the waiver wire first. And in my mind, it's maybe a better utilization of a roster spot in comparison to somebody like Quentin Johnston at the very bottom end of your team, where if you're looking at, say, someone like Quentin Johnston versus Jordan Mason, like even if Ladd McConkey were to go down, you don't know if you can start Johnston, where if McCaffrey were to go down, I'm pretty damn confident we can start Mason. But I think that's all I have for you. Really hope that I was able to help you out here. And of course, if you want to get in a draft with me, I'm still streaming every single day Underdog Fantasy Football drafts. It's the perfect spot to get into an extra fantasy football draft this year because there's no time commitment. It's how I draft hundreds of teams every year. It's how I won $150,000 on Underdog 2 years ago. Use code FLOCK so you make sure you get that 50% deposit bonus up to $1,000. So you also get set up with the Christian McCaffrey special pick'em, more than less than half a total yard. The Travis Kelce special pick'em on top of that, more than less than half a total yard for week 1. And you will get my 2024 rankings, draft guide, and ADP consensus cheat sheet. But much love. Really do appreciate you. Really hope you have a great day. And really hope I get to see you out in the draft tonight.